Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Now, you can always send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our radio website, where you can find out what we've done in the past, where we're doing today, and where we hope to be tomorrow at www.xzoneradio.com. Now, what we have done for all the members of the X-Zone Nation around the world is we have made our first season of the X-Zone TV show available for one and all, 12 complete episodes, no commercials, just the shows at www.xzonetv.com. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern until 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and in Europe on Radio X. My guest this hour is Dan Terry, and he is an author, ghost hunter, a Coast Guard veteran, and has been a police officer for nearly 30 years. I guess we can say Dan is an assistant chief of police by day, but by night, paranormal investigator. He began his ghost hunting in the mid-'70s, inspired by his television hero, Kolchack, the Night Stalker, realizing quickly that sitting in empty, old homes or cemeteries and listening for voices were not accepted in the military or in police work. He stopped active investigations until the television show Ghost Hunters exploded on the scene and made ghost hunting mainstream. Dan has written 5 books on ghost hunting to date. This includes the most recent book, Too Ornery to Die, in which he hunted the spirit of Missouri's first known serial killer, Bertha Gifford, from the home in which she started her murderous rampage to the jail cell where she awaited trial, slowly going insane. Joining me now is Dan Terry. And Dan, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the invitation.
Well, it's great having you with us, Dan. Tell us a little bit about your early days as the Spook Stalker.
Well, how early do we want to get? Back in the 70s, after I was introduced to Kolchack, the Night Stalker, and his style, as soon as I got my driver's license, me and a few friends started ghost hunting, going to haunted places. We even debunked our very first case.
What was that? How did you debunk your case? Because this is very rare for a ghost hunter to actually say they've debunked their case.
This was a rare one, I suppose. We got an old legend of a haunted tombstone that reportedly glowed. And as we approached, it was glowing. I can't deny that. But after a little while, we figured out about a quarter mile away, as a car turned a corner, the lights would hit that just right. And as it passed, it would stop glowing, of course. But from the road, it looked like it was glowing.
So there you are, mystery solved in the true fashion of an assistant police chief.
I can't tell you I wasn't scared for a little bit, but we got it.
No, there you go. As a police officer, you are trained for the facts. Do you find that your expertise in law enforcement is a definite asset when it comes to investigating the paranormal?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the best thing I've got is the ability to question and look for people not quite telling the truth, body language, that sort of thing.
All the training that you've acquired over the many years in law enforcement.
Absolutely.
All right.
It comes in very handy.
I'm sure it does. And as I was saying to you before we went to air, there are more and more law enforcement officers who are coming into the realm of paranormal investigator than I have ever seen before. And I've been doing this show now for 25 years.
That's incredible.
It is. You and I will return on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone with our special guest this hour, Dan Terry. And Dan's website is www.spookstalker.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
This is Johanna Carroll, host of Dialogue with Divinity on the X Zone Broadcast Network. While walking along Kaanapali Beach in Maui this past year, I kept discovering all these shells and coral in the shape of hearts. My dialogue with Divinity was very simple. Do you want me to do a retreat to heal people's hearts in Maui next year? And of course, the answer was yes. As a master spiritual teacher, I am offering you a neat retreat called Rise, May 8th through the 12th, 2017, and the chance of a lifetime to rest at a 5-star resort for 5 days and experience a spiritual renewal of your heart and soul. Kaanapali is one of the top 5 beaches in the world. This stunning resort has undergone a $40 million renovation. I walked the entire property, checked out the room choices on your behalf, and I must say it is stunning. Our conference room faces the ocean with sliding glass doors. Maui is known as Mother Maui because it is a soft, gentle, healing energy. In the embrace of Mother Maui, you will feel yourself rising from the limitations of an ordinary life to an extraordinary journey of peace, bliss, and harmony. A greater sense of clarity. Our Rise retreat ignites renewal in the sacred elements of air, water, earth, fire, and wind. There's plenty of free time to enjoy all that Maui has to offer. A small deposit is required now to reserve your space, as this retreat, it will sell out. For more details, please go to johannacarroll.com and register today. Aloha, and I'll see you in mystical Maui.
Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold. Dan Terry is my guest this hour, www.spookstalker.com. Dan, to date, what has been your most perplexing paranormal investigation?
Boy, that covers a lot of them. But I'd have to give it to the Diamonds. It's an old truck stop. Used to be on Route 66 out here.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran into a shadow person that not only didn't run, but challenged me in front of a room full of witnesses. It was pretty exciting at the time.
Tell us about it. I've never heard of a spirit or an entity challenging a person in a room full of people. Did the other people in the room see what you were seeing?
Actually, they saw things I didn't see.
Wow, like what?
Well, the shadow was walking back and forth on a wall. It looked like a normal shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched it, and there's something wrong here. And somebody else, a guy named Tim Clifton, mentioned that he saw it too. So I went to the only window in the room, and I said, now, does that block it? And the guy said, Dan, I see your shadow, and I see its shadow. I said, all right, I'm going to step in front of it. And I actually turned my back on it and stepped in front of where I thought the light was coming from. And about 12 people in the room took a big, deep breath all at once. And I was certain I was about to get killed. But one of them very calmly said, Dan, it's above you. And apparently when I stepped in its way, it literally lifted off the floor and raised above me. And I turned around and saw it then, and it stayed around another 5-10 minutes and then faded away, but it responded to my challenge.
Dan, how do we explain a shadow that has, by all means, an intelligence of it, when we can't see anything solid in front of it in order to create the shadow?
Well, I haven't quite come up to an answer on that one yet myself, but I think a lot of them are just spirits that haven't developed into full-body apparitions yet. Others may be demonic. I've heard that, but I cannot swear I've ever seen a demon or dealt with one, so I'm just not totally sure.
Have you or any of the investigators that you know ever been physically assaulted by a spirit?
I've been pushed, scratched. I've been bit.
Wow.
Yeah, that one was at the Waverly Hills Sanitarium. So, yeah, actually, I've known several who's been scratched. In the house you talked about earlier, Bertha Gifford,
Yes.
the first time we was there, investigator got scratches on the back of her neck. And that was pretty exciting.
I guess it would be, but here we are in the year 2016. We have all this technological equipment, and yet we still do not understand the basic premise of what a spirit is or what a ghost is.
That's true.
You know, it must be very perplexing when you go to a place, no matter where it is, and you are physically assaulted by something that is there but cannot be seen, which means it doesn't have mass, but yet it can create either a scratch or push someone.
I have come to the conclusion that these spirits have the same personality in death that they had in life. So it is no different for me from walking into a domestic situation, into a possible burglary. They're fighting back, just like normal, everyday living people do in the wrong situations. So I take it as just kind of normal, everyday stuff.
Okay. Tell me about the Bertha Gifford case.
She was quite a woman. Lived over in Jefferson County, Missouri. She was considered the prettiest gal in the county in her day. This would have been late 1800s. Her and her husband, her first husband, ran a house, kind of a hotel, a place where people could come and get a meal and stay the night. Somewhere along the line, she met another guy, and her husband, strangely enough, died of a stomach ailment, is how it was worded. Neighbors at the time said them two were fighting a lot. After a respectable few months, she married her boyfriend, and they moved to another part of the county. But throughout all of her time, there were strange deaths around her. And it was mostly her second husband's family, several members of that. They know for absolutely certain she used arsenic to poison 3. 2 children and a 70-some-year-old man. They suspect 17, and I've heard the number go as high as 32. Eventually, she did get caught, and she was arrested. She was put in the county jail here in Franklin, where her insanity began to come out more. She would scream foul language from the top window out to the people below. She wouldn't eat. She was afraid somebody would try to poison her. Eventually, she was found not guilty by reason of insanity, spent the rest of her life in an insane asylum where she died in the 50s. And she got very upset when she was told she couldn't be the cook.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I couldn't understand that. One of her doctors had a cleaning woman, a woman who took care of the house, who passed away. She tried to get that job. Got upset when they wouldn't hire her for that either.
Now, does she haunt the insane asylum where she passed?
Well, that building is gone.
I see.
It's no longer standing. She does do the house in Jefferson County and the jail in Franklin County. And in Jefferson County, we could hear her in her high heels walking on the floor above our heads. And like I said, one investigator was trying to talk to a child spirit and got scratched on the back of the neck, 3 long scratches. Got a good photo of it in one of the books.
Wow.
And another investigator who gave me her photo, one I trained, as a matter of fact, she got a picture in there of a child, looks like a boy, possibly 7, 8 years old, and he's wearing bib overalls, standing in a window looking in, from the outside looking in. He had no eyes, but the rest of him was right. So there's a lot of spirits still at Morse Mill.
Why do the spirits remain? Why don't they go to the other side? Why don't they go to the light?
I think there's as many reasons for why they don't go to the light or go to the other side as there are people. Some of them are afraid to go to the other side, afraid of judgment. Some feel like they're being held here with unfinished business. I think the children are afraid of her and afraid to leave because of the fear they've developed of her. I'm not sure they even understand what they can and can't do on the other side.
How many paranormal groups would you say go through that house in a year?
Boy, if I said 20, I'd probably be low.
Really?
Somewhere in there, yeah. A lot of groups go through 2 or 3 times, as a matter of fact, because of the activity in that house.
So, with all this activity that's going on, why do groups keep going back time after time after time? What is the draw? What is the finality? What are people looking for?
Well, a lot of people say they're looking for answers. Myself, I don't think we're going to find any answers. I do it just because I like the thrill. I like the adrenaline rush of actually making contact with the other side. I can't say I doubt there's life after death because I've been bitten by it and shoved by it. I don't know what it is, but I'm not looking forward to finding out real fast. But overall, I do it for the fun. I do it for the thrill. I think a lot of folks do.
What is the ultimate? I mean, besides the thrill, and I can understand that. But what, as a paranormal investigator, are you trying to accomplish?
Well, I guess we all want evidence. We all want proof we can throw out and get people to be amazed by it. But like I've said before, if I capture a demon and tie it up with a golden lariat, spitting fire with horns and a forked tail, and drug it into a room full of 100 people, somebody's going to scream Photoshop. And when they do, 50% of the people will agree it was Photoshopped. You just will never be able to prove this to the masses. We can only prove it to ourselves.
But why do you think there's so much skepticism when it comes to what paranormal investigators truly believe as evidence, and when they do show it to the masses say Photoshop? What has caused this mistrust?
I don't know if it's mistrust as much as it is simply they don't want to know. In fact, I had an investigation here just recently where this one guy kept swearing his mother was dead. The Bible told him that when she died, she went to heaven, she went to hell, but she was not on this plane. And when I proved to her that it was his mother, it was an amazing experience how he cried and just fell apart in front of me.
How did you prove to him that it was his mother?
I handed him a pair of dowsing rods. This is my favorite tool for ghost hunting. I've been using it now for several years. Just a simple pair of copper rods. Put it in someone's hand, show them how to hold them, and then told him, ask whatever questions you want to ask. And he was getting the right answers. And then I told him, don't even ask. Think the question you want to ask your mother and see if the answer is yes. And again, he cried and apologized to me. He had called me a liar and was ready to throw me out of his house earlier. There was just no way his mother could be there.
Dan, stand by. We've got to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exonation, Dan Terry is our guest. www.spookstalker.com. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me Monday through Friday from 6 p.m. Eastern until 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, and of course, Talkstar Radio, and in Europe on Radio X. There we go, a little dyslexic right now. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money in abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at www.drgibbswilliams.com. Dan Terry is our guest this hour. X-Zone Nation website, www.spookstalker.com. Dan, before we went to the news break, you were telling us about your favorite tool being dowsing rods. Two pieces of copper wire that are in an L shape, and you place them in your hands, and away you go. Why do you put so much faith into the dowsing rods?
They just have worked for me since the very first time I used them. I was doing a charity ghost hunt in a place called the John Bush Brewery, which is the original Bush beer brewery, and it's in Washington, Missouri. And I brought them in there only because these people had paid good money for these tickets to ghost hunt with me, and I only have one K2 meter. So I got these rods for them, and they just took off and worked great. So I've been using them ever since, and I hand them to people who are very skeptical of them, and they will look at me. That they feel a power coming through them. They say I'm not moving them, and they're getting the answers. It's just a remarkable ghost hunting tool.
What other tools do you use? You said a K2 meter, and what kind of equipment do you use? Do you go after EVPs?
I do. I have a couple of just regular Walmart type digital voice recorders. They seem to work best. And again, because of my background, I don't filter. I don't try to make sounds better than they are. If I don't hear them playing, then I don't use them. My evidence is got to be right there, obvious, or I won't use it. So I use cheap recorders and video cameras and regular old stuff. The dowsing rods is about the only thing I use that's different from a lot of people.
How hard is it for you to teach someone how to use a dowsing rod?
Well, 30 seconds if they're skeptical and don't want to listen. 10 seconds if they're not. I just put it in their hands. I put them right where the fingers touch the palm of the hand and show them how to keep their fingers loose and their thumbs down. Start asking questions. And it works every time. It's really been an amazing device. I was in Kansas at the Oz Museum, Wizard of Oz Museum, just 6-8 months ago. And a guy begged me to let him use them, which I was glad to, and he wasn't getting anything. We went to another building, a theater, the Columbia, and there he asked again, and throughout this, it turns out a family member who had passed was trying to contact him. And I told him the same thing. Think the question. You don't have to say it out loud, but see if you get the right answers. And this big guy with the tattoos and the big arms was crying like a baby before it was over.
My goodness.
It's pretty interesting. Lately, over the last 2 or 3 years, I've had a lot of family members coming through and talking to the people that's there on the ghost hunt with me. It's really been wild. I'm thinking I need to write a book about it.
Do you think that that these spirits are coming through while you're there because you were sensitive and they can tell your honesty and that you exude integrity when you're doing it because of who you are?
Well, I'd sure like to think so, but I really believe these spirits have been waiting for the right time and looking for a way to get their message across. Mostly like this fella in Kansas, the message was, it's okay, I'm all right. But I think it's the right time, right place, right time, right tools. And they're taking advantage of it.
They're taking advantage of it. Who are they?
The spirits. I really believe the spirits of these family members are coming through just to make contact and give these folks some comfort. I did one last fall, and actually it was a local county queen contest for the county fair, and they asked me to do the ghost hunt there at the Bush Brewery for them for a photo op, and about 4 of them had family members literally come through. One, a boyfriend who had died in a car accident about 8 months earlier, And she ended up calling his mother to come because he was there giving the messages. And I wasn't even in the room. I'd shown them how to do it and walked away for a while. And these folks were getting the answers, the right ones. So it's the spirits wanting the right time. I had provided them with the means, and they took it over.
But how did the spirits know that these people were going to be there?
Oh, it could be they just they can see the future. I don't think time has the kind of linear meaning on the other side it does for us. Or the spirits are following them all the time, and this was their option. This was their opportunity. It happens so often. It's amazing to see these people start bubbling up and crying when they reach someone.
Yeah. Do you think that the veil between this side and the other side is getting thinner?
I think it is. Like I said, this has started just in the last 2 or 3 years. When I started ghost hunting in the 70s, maybe I just didn't know what I was doing, but I wasn't finding the kind of stuff I'm finding now. Is it because people are more open to it thanks to Ghost Hunters and Ghost Academy and all those? It's possible. People are just more open, so there's more coming through. But either way, there's some reason why the ghosts are more active now than they used to be.
Now, when you do an investigation, do you bring other investigators with you? Do you bring a psychic or a medium with you? Or do you stick to the tried and true of the dowsing rods?
I have a sensitive on my team that I use a lot. His name is Tim Clifton. I was actually working a local ambulance shed that was haunted. And he wasn't with me. He'd been in a car accident, wasn't available.
Geez.
I didn't even tell him I was going. Get a call in the middle of it. I answered it, and he said, Dan, I said, Tim, I'm busy. He goes, I know, there's an old woman there in the room who wants to speak. She does not want a lot of attention. She wants somebody to know she's there. She's a mother figure, and in World War II, she did something, maybe draft board, something to do with the war. And it turned out the main ambulance guy, the guy who runs it, older lady had recently passed. He considered her a mother, and she met her husband working in an airplane factory in St. Louis. And it just, everything worked out just right. That's why I believe in this sensitive.
Exonation, my guest this hour is Dan Terry, and his website is spookstalker.com. Now, are there any Civil War or early battlegrounds that you have investigated?
Oh, yes, sir. We was in Kansas, and it was one of the last battles as General Price was getting out of Missouri trying to get back to the South. And he had a large Union force right behind him. We went there, we camped out, and the strangest thing that happened, we got to the point where there was a fight as they were trying to get the wagons over a creek. On the way back, something was walking in the woods around us, and there was about 6 of us that heard it, and we could hear their footsteps. They escorted us towards the bridge. When I stopped and challenged them, I would say easily 50 owls started screeching, and they continued this loud, incredible screeching as we exited quickly to that footbridge. And I mean, literally, as soon as the last person stepped off that bridge, the owl stopped. Bang. And that was pretty wild. We got a lot of interesting evidence that day at that battlefield.
What kind of evidence did you get?
We got some voices. I was with another group, actually. I was with Kansas Paranormal Research Society. I work with them quite often. There's several groups that allow me to work with them. And their psychics were sensing stuff. Got some orb photos, some very, very powerful orb photos. They got some EVPs of rifle shots, as a matter of fact. And we didn't hear them at the time. Yeah, it was an interesting place.
How do we explain that EVPs cannot be heard at the time of recording, that they're only heard after when the recording is played back?
I have explanation for that. It's happened to me several times. In fact, I only remember one time I was in a room and I suggested the ghost was hanging around waiting for his wife to pass, and we heard a loud no that didn't record. But we all heard it.
Wow.
Other than that, usually we get them both. We can hear them, then we can record them. But I really don't have an explanation why sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
As an investigator, not only a paranormal investigator, but also as a trained law enforcement officer and being the assistant chief of police of a police department, what is your most perplexing part about investigating the paranormal?
Well, of course, I can't question the spirits. My best tool in police work is watching people. It's watching them when they lie, watching their eyes move, watching their body language. I cannot do that with the spirits. I have to take them at their word.
Has there ever been a time in your law enforcement career where you have been helped by a spirit in solving a case?
You know, I cannot say that it has, no. I've had people come to me with ghost problems while I was on duty.
Right.
But no, I can't say I've had a spirit help me yet.
The people who come to you with a ghost problem while you're on duty must find it very comforting to know that you believe and you don't think that they're ready for a Section 8.
They really do. The biggest one, the most interesting one, it took him about 30 minutes of talking with me to finally breach the subject. He was afraid I would think he was crazy, but once he did, we had a very exciting case at his house. And I actually had to call in help on that one. If I have ever done a demonic case, that's the one. Of course, I cannot say one way or the other because I never saw it. But yeah, he was really afraid to tell me. Could you tell us about it? He came into my office. We jabbered about this and that for quite a while, and then he said, I know you're interested in this stuff. I just thought I'd tell you that my son is seeing this spirit. And he went on to say it started out the boy saw it in his room, then another spirit came and chased it away, and then it started knocking things over where the boy would be blamed. It was sounding, for lack of a better word, like a textbook demonic case to me. I've read several books on it. So I called a guy named Stephen LaChance. I don't know if you know him or not.
I sure do. I sure know Stephen very well.
He helped me out on this case. And he said, well, the important thing is that it hasn't left the house. And the next day, the dad called, and the boy swears he saw it on the bus. And I called Stephen back. He brought his team in. I brought my team in. We got some incredible video. We literally have an orb coming in the room, circling it twice, and the dog is watching it circle. Then it stopped right about 3 inches off the nose of a cat, like it was staring at the cat, and then leaped out of the room. And Stephen and his team, Teresa Reevy, and I think Tim Clifton was with him that night, they chased the ghost. They literally went through the house, blessing it, and finally got rid of it. And it came back, but we found out it was kind of the family wasn't doing what they should have. They actually brought in a psychic who was a girlfriend of a friend. And she said, there's a little boy outside. Come on in. And it all started all over again. But that was different. Stephen said it was a demon. I will not deny it. I just thought we got rid of it awfully easy.
I'll tell you something. I've had the pleasure of having Stephen on the show a number of times, and he's one credible dude in my books.
He's a good man, and he has helped me out on several cases.
Have you ever dealt with a case where a Ouija board has been involved?
I have. And in this particular case, things started happening, things started going on, and they burned it thinking that would help, and it didn't. And that's another one where I had to call another team in to assist.
Do you have any idea on how a Ouija board works?
I think a Ouija board don't work a lot different from the K2 meter or the rods that I use, except with your hands on it, you are literally asking the spirit to control your hands as it moves around. And that's the thing I don't much care about them. I prefer my rods. I just ask them to move the rods. They don't have to touch me at all. But yeah, I think Ouija boards work, and I don't think they're evil. Just people don't know how to use them.
So why do you think Ouija boards are getting such a bum rap? You know, like I've had psychics on the shows, mediums on the shows, ghost investigators on the show who swear that Ouija boards open up a porthole into who knows where, and that there's a lot of lying and deceit that comes from the other side when using a Ouija board.
My own belief is a Ouija board is a lot like a pistol. It's a tool that can be used for good or bad.
I like that.
If you leave that pistol lying around where a kid can get hold of it who doesn't know what he's doing, it can be done bad things that it never intended. So a Ouija board is very similar. A Ouija board, if you don't know what you're doing, it can leave the door open for anything to come through. If you know what you're doing, you know how to close it down, it's just another tool. Are you
ever afraid of bringing something home with you in a ghost investigation or a paranormal investigation that you've been on?
Rob, it's happened several times.
Really?
Oh yeah, I had a little girl that was running around my house, a spirit of a little girl for a little while. When I bought this house, there was a ghost in it already. And he made himself known real quick, and me and him, we got into it, and he had to learn my rules. But we brought home a spirit from the Riders Inn in Ohio. It followed my wife home. It was a cowboy with a duster and a dark hat. One day, her and I are sitting downstairs watching TV, and there was a ruckus upstairs. It literally sounded like a fight with things being thrown. I thought raccoons had gotten into the house somehow. And got upstairs, didn't find nothing wrong, but we never saw that ghost again. And I really think my ghost who was here when I moved in protects us and throws the other spirits out.
You and I have to take our final break. Please stand by. X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour is Dan Terry, and his website is www.spookstalker.com. And we'll be back wrapping up this hour here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, right after these words from our sponsors.
As host of Dialogue with Divinity, I am thrilled to join the X-Zone Broadcast Network and their growing number of affiliates. My quest for a connection to the divine ignited my successful career path as an international spiritual counselor for over 40 years, an author of 4 books, and well-known metaphysical educator. My clients call me their spiritual mama. So my job is to offer you a radio show to help you grow spiritually with wisdom and get specific tools from guests who are experts in their field. Tune in to Dialogue with Divinity and be part of the conversation with Spirit. My goal, your happy soul. For more information, please visit my website at johannacarroll.com.
Coming soon to the X-Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who would like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X-Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
What Happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Dan Terry is our guest to this hour, X-Zone Nation, www.spookstalker.com. First of all, Dan, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight here on the X-Zone. It's been a great pleasure having you on, and thank you for sharing the cases that you've worked on over the years. And I want to wish you much success with your books. And where can your books be found so our listeners can buy them?
They're all available on Amazon, and I've got one new one that I don't think you mentioned. It's called Ghost Walk, and it's only available on ebooks. And then Too Ornery to Die is also available as an ebook now.
Excellent. What are your final thoughts tonight that we can share with the X-Zone Nation?
I guess just that for the people who don't believe it, it's real. We've done so much, and I've worked with so many incredibly honest and trustworthy people on these ghost hunts. There's no question in my mind it's real. And before you criticize or call us names, come out and do a couple of these things. And I've told people before, come out on 3 ghost hunts with me and I will convince you it's real.
There are so many reality shows these days about ghosts, ghost hunters, paranormal investigations. Some of them are anything but real, and they shouldn't be under the auspices of reality TV. They shouldn't even be on the air. But as a professional, do you think that these shows are an asset or a hindrance to you?
I think they started out as a definite asset. It really brought this into the mainstream.
Right.
And as you said in your introduction, which was very nice, thanks, I had to hide this to do my job as a sailor and as an officer. And now people will come to me for this, thanks to ghost hunters. That said, it's hard to convince people that we can't do this in 22 minutes. I cannot get you all this evidence in half an hour. It takes hours and hours of this, and it's dull. Until something happens, it's very boring.
It's not unlike the television shows that portray police work and the forensic work that goes into law enforcement, CSI, where a crime is solved in, 44 minutes if you take out the commercials.
Yeah, with devices we don't even own.
That's right.
And most departments don't have teams like that. So you're right, and people believe that. But when it comes to ghost hunting, too many of those shows makes us look bad because we can't do it in 20 minutes.
There's a new movie coming out, Ghostbusters, 4 ladies and a male secretary. What are your thoughts on that?
I am way too much of a traditionalist. Without Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, I just can't get excited about it. But I will go see it. I'll give it a shot.
Listen, Dan, thank you so much for joining us. Great pleasure talking to you this past hour. We're going to have you back on in the future. But do you remember the program Chicago Blues?
I'm sorry?
Chicago Blue?
Chicago Blue, you lost me.
All right, it was a police show.
I've heard of it, but
Okay.
I never got to see it here.
The sergeant used to say one thing at the beginning of every show, just as roll call was being dismissed. And I'm going to say the same thing to you. Be careful out there, my friend.
Thank you, I will. And thank you for your time.
It's my great pleasure. Exo Nation, our guest this hour has been Dan Terry. And his website is spookstalker.com. That's www.spookstalker.com. Now, I'll be back on the other side of this break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Send me your emails, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. And you can always find out what's going on in the X Zone by going to www.xzoneradio.com. Don't go away. We'll be back after this news break.